never had a pretty girl from Joburg to me now, and that's what they prefer. I don't touch no wheel cause I got a chauffeur. First class, how I get around the world. Just miss me with the drama, unless you come in with the commas. Or DJ turn the sound up, cause we about to pour the rounds up. From Jersey to Ibiza, they say it doesn't get sweeter. Feel my body banging like speaker. Ooh, sweating on my concealer.
Hey, and welcome back to my channel. So it's currently 7:52 p.m. It's almost 8 p.m. and I just came back from a store run. I finished my radio show, and I had a meeting with the programming team afterwards, and then I came back home and I decided I need to just buy a few things because it's actually a long weekend this side. It's Martin Luther King Day, I believe on Monday. Actually, let me just check my calendar. I know that Martin Luther King's birthday, I think, isn't it today? I believe, wait, is it on the 18th? Let me just check my calendar. So we are celebrating a long weekend, and I just wanted to make sure that I get everything that I need for this weekend because I want to rest. I want to rest this weekend. The streets are not gonna see me. Okay, so Martin Luther King Day is actually on the 20th, which is on Monday. My volume, my voice is a little bit low because I am feeling like slightly tired. It's been a long day. I'm also intermittent fasting, so I have not had anything to eat. I'm about to break my fast once I take a long hot bath. But I just wanted to do a reflection as I, from time to time, I'll do these sit down reflections just like after my radio show to kind of process everything, because I was interviewing, or rather, let me say, I was in conversation with an astrologer and writer, spiritual, intuitive healer, spiritual guide, Monique Ruffin, and it was actually such a refreshing conversation. So as you watch my channel a little bit more and you and I get to know each other more and more, you'll soon find out that I really love astrology. I'm kind of like a nerd when it comes to astrology. But my day ones, like people who have been following me since my wife M days back in South African radio, you will know that I used to do these artist interviews weekly, every single Friday, and with each artist I would always do kind of like an impromptu astrological reading on them. And I loved how people would always be like kind of spooked out because they would be like, how do you know me? Like, that is so accurate. And so I love astrology. It's just, it's one of the things that I nerd out on. And so I really thought that since it is the beginning of the year, starting a new year, everybody has goals, resolutions. This catastrophe that's happening in Los Angeles, and I'm a bit woo-woo. I always want to know there has to be a spiritual understanding of what is happening, or rather I'm always wanting to kind of ground things through a spiritual lens as well, because I do believe that 90% of the things that are in the universe or in our world are actually, we cannot see them. So 90% of what is actually happening in reality is spiritual. We only see 10%. 10% is the physical realm, the things that we can see, touch, feel. So I really did enjoy just being in conversation with a person who is a scholar of astrology, a person who studied a person who has also just been in practice for, I think, over 2 decades. So yeah, and you know, it was also like an intergenerational conversation because Monique was born in the 60s. My mom, you know, is also born in the 60s. So she's kind of old enough to be my mother. And so I do love having these intergenerational conversations where elders and the younger people can be in conversation, because I think that we can always learn from each other. And it was really grounding and fascinating to kind of hear her interpretation through an astrological lens about, you know, what is happening in 2025, what can we expect. But I think that I think she did point out something about Pluto, which is the planet that governs death and rebirth. So really there's a shift in power. And so more than anything, but just to kind of ground it so that it doesn't sound so woo-woo, my biggest takeaway was that this year a lot of us are going to have to go inward to find the answers, to find meaning. A lot of times people project outwardly thinking that the answers that they seek are everywhere else but within themselves. And so I think that for anybody to kind of have as smooth of a transition as possible into this year, you're gonna have to fortify yourself spiritually. You're gonna have to find something that anchors you, whatever it is. You know, I am not one of those people who will prescribe how you ought to connect with yourself spiritually, but I do think it's a good idea to have some kind of spiritual practice, you know, whether it's Allah, whether it's you know, Jesus, whether it is Krishna. Girl, I don't care, but fortify yourself. Or whether it's astrology, but fortify yourself and anchor yourself in something. You have to, I feel like you kind of have to believe in something. So yeah, those are just like some of my immediate thoughts. And actually, it was my first in-studio interview, because usually the artists that I interview are virtual. So, you know, I've interviewed like 2 Nigerian artists. One was in Lagos. Another one was based in, she's based in New York. I've spoken to another artist in South Africa, 2 artists in South Africa. I also spoken to one who was streaming in from, not Australia, New Zealand. So yeah, and I mean, you know, I guess that's also part of what makes my radio show unique, in the sense that it truly is diasporic. It's global. I am speaking to Black people all over the diaspora, all over the globe. And today we were actually supposed to also have another artist. She is based in London, so she's going to be joining us all the way from London next month in February, and I'm really excited. Her music is absolutely insane. I'm actually going to include it. Her name is Shay Universe, and her music is so nostalgic, like 90s R&B, neo soul nostalgia. Just the songwriting is like gut-wrenching. The voice, like her voice is like a combination of like Sade meets India.Arie. But there's also something reminiscent of D'Angelo, not in her voice, but she can hit a falsetto, but her voice is really kind of androgynous. And yeah, a really unique voice. I love her voice. I love her voice. I love her voice. And I'm just so excited to be in conversation with her. Beautiful Black woman, you know, Nigerian born and raised in the UK. So We are global. The Witch's Flight is global, and I'm just so excited. I truly am so excited. I have a couple of things up my sleeve. I don't share my goals publicly, but all I can say is that I'm really excited for where the Witch's Flight is going, because it's more than just a radio show. It's a movement. This show is also a repository for my scholarship. I conceptualize it whilst I was doing my dissertation, and really wanting to use it as a creative repository where I creatively experiment with some of my theoretical findings. As you know, it's also a form of methodology. So for myself as a scholar, like some of my findings, it is a lab. This is my lab. Scientists go into a lab and they use whatever. My lab is my creative process. The Witch's Flight, the radio show, is my lab, as a scholar, as a thinker. And so I'm really excited for what it is that I'm creating. It's going to be dope. It's already dope. What else stood out for me? And then I did like a live amapiano set. I kick-started it with like some high energy, and then I went a little bit like more soulful, some vocals. Just serving, because it is like energetically, it's been a heavy time in Los Angeles. And so for me, I am Dr. Dube. I don't prescribe medicine, but I prescribe music. And no, I'm not an honorary doctor. I truly have a PhD, but I also feel that as a sound artist, that is my prescription. I administer like dopamine through music. So I don't give you hardcore drugs. I think I give you something that can last a little bit longer. And something that you also are able to co-create in the process, and that is through dance music. So I am feeling just really grateful. I'm really feeling grateful. Oh my gosh, I think I just remembered why my energy is also a little bit low, because someone offered me a tequila shot. I didn't have it while I was doing the show. I waited till I was done with my show, and yeah, I felt that tequila shot. I actually mixed I don't do shots. So yeah, I mixed it with sparkling water, but flavored sparkling water. And it was really nice, because the person it was actually another DJ who was a guest DJ on the show that's ahead of me, with Julian Mendoza. She also does her show on Fridays. My show is 2 to 4 p.m. Hers is 12 to 2 p.m. Really, really cool. I really like just the people I work with at Dab Lab are really cool people. Just some of the most chill people. And most of them are LA natives, so they were born here. They're not transplants like me, And I think I've mentioned this before, that Los Angeles natives are truly some of the best people that you will meet in LA. They are just so laid back, really down to earth, chilled as people. I think it's the ocean. They are just like, they are cruising, okay? They are cruising. It's actually pretty funny, because I was watching Elsa Majimbo, the TikToker, and she lives in LA. And it's funny because I was watching her talk about just some of the things that she has learned since moving to LA, that there's something called being LA sober. And being LA sober just means like you don't do anything else but weed, because cannabis is legal here, and almost everybody almost everybody, or even if just socially, is this one of those things that you will always find in an LA party, good weed. And so sometimes I am like, I'm not saying everyone, but I don't know if I think it's the ocean and the weed just makes people super chilled and laid back. Think Snoop Dogg, the most chilled uncle you'll ever know, and Snoop Dogg is an LA native. I think he's from Long Beach originally. So yeah, I love my LA people, and I think that too 2025, just with everything that's been happening, because I'm just 6 months, out of graduate school. So I feel like, I'm kind of like finally an adult in Los Angeles, because I was living here as a student, for the past 5 years while I was doing this PhD. And I was living close to campus. So I was kind of like in a bubble. I was in Westwood/Beverly Hills, and I really was in this bubble. And now I've moved, I'm in a new home, and I'm having really more of a local experience, which I absolutely love. And so now I'm like, okay, this is my identity. I'm still, yes, South African, but I'm a Californian Zulu girl. This is my city, yo. This is my city. And I love the city. Like, this is my city. So yeah, I'm a Californian Zulu girl through and through. And for me, I think, especially as a Durbanite, I've said this before, that LA to me is kind of like the closest thing that I would find, the best parts about Durban, which is the warm weather, okay, throughout the year. We don't have snow here. There are no real winters. I mean, it's winter right now, part of why I'm wearing all these cozy things. It gets like chilly when the sun sets, but for the most part, the sun is always out in California, in Los Angeles particularly. And I love the city, and I think there's something about like catastrophe with all the wildfires that have been happening, that kind of force you to introspect and really force you to also just be grounded, because I think that's why I had the realization or the epiphany that, oh, I am a Californian Zulu because I can't escape the catastrophe that happens here. Whatever happens in LA impacts me. I live here. I'm a resident. Yeah, so I just, seeing my city burn like that broke my heart, but also it made me appreciative. I think I'm so much more appreciative of the city. Like, LA is a beautiful city. I love the city. You'll meet some of the best people, you'll meet some of the worst people. It depends where you're looking. But this city is more than just Hollywood. It's more than just what you see in the films. Yeah, it's not just Hollywood people. There's an entire, universe in Los Angeles. And so it's really enriching when you are able to connect with the natives of this city, people who were born here. Like, Monique was born in Watts. Watts is one of the, it's a black neighborhood, but through the context of South Africa, it would be like kind of like a township, So same way you kind of think of Umlazi, that's Watts is the let me say, Watts is the Umlazi of LA. Yeah, let me say that. Umlazi or Guamashu, depending. But really culturally rich. So that's where she was born. She doesn't live in Watts anymore. But I just found it so insightful to also connect with somebody who grew up here, during the civil rights movement. And, she was talking about how when she was growing up, they were watching what was happening in South Africa. And she was saying, she would ask her mom, like, why am I here and not there? And it kind of gave me goosebumps, because we are so interconnected. So it kind of like, it's like a full circle thing, because, Martin Luther King Day is on Monday. And so I think that it's also important to think about Martin Luther King, outside of just how he's being co-opted by neoliberals. There is a militant history to Martin Luther King, in the same ways that Nelson Mandela, I guess, in his final days was co-opted by white neoliberals, and they kind of stripped off, his militant background. So there are so many parallels between Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela. And, you know, no matter what you feel about those figures, we cannot take away how instructive they've been when it comes to, you know, the liberation of Black people. So for me as a South African, born free, you know, speaking to this elder who was watching South Africa when Nelson Mandela was still in jail, and they were petitioning, you know, wanting, sanctioning South Africa so that he could be released. And then it's Martin Luther King's, you know, Martin Luther King Day, or, you know, his birthday weekend. It just kind of all feels like it's aligned. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. So it's all deeply aligned. It's all just part of like the cosmic alignment. I think I'm going to post this video. So make sure you subscribe, okay, like this video, and also just drop me a comment if you are, you know, an African currently based in these American streets. Are you celebrating Martin Luther King Day? What are your thoughts about Martin Luther King? Or even if you are South African, or just honestly anywhere you are in the world, what are your thoughts? You know, are you going to be observing Martin Luther King Day? What are your thoughts about astrology? Happy New Year. I wish you all the best. What are you anticipating for this year? What are you wishing for? What are you praying for? And yeah, I will catch up with you on my vlog. I'm going to drop the vlog. I think I'm going to drop the vlog like in the coming week. So I'll spend the weekend editing the vlog. But I think I'm going to drop this reflective part of my vlog day. You know, I'll drop it on the channel. So yeah, we'll catch up soon.
Nothing in life is linear. It's okay to be okay and then not be okay and then be okay again. It's okay to meet yourself where you're at every day. And sometimes you're gonna have to learn that lesson again and again before you overcome it. But the most important thing is that you overcome.